Hey bird dogs, I am pretty excited. We're actually at a meetup right now. The sun. Okay, which is put on by Deniz McDaniel. And is her name Natasha? I hope I've said her name right. Natasha McDaniel. And we're at, I guess they go to church here, but we're at a church. I hope they're members here or whatnot. But we're at a meetup for meeting up with other wholesalers and real estate investors. Me and my husband actually just talked to Jason Arms. He's a pretty well-known investor in the Memphis area. It's a little windy out here, so I'm gonna go head back inside. But yeah, this is the first meetup we've been to in quite a while. It's been just about a year. And the reason for that is because we've been kind of just low-key on wholesaling and getting to know people other than through the internet. And oh my God. Okay. And yeah, so now we're taking new 2019, making it a little bit different on how we're getting to know new people we want to network with and be in contact with. And we're actually in this little room here. And we're a little bit early. I think it's supposed to start at 6. It is, oh, okay, it's 6:02 right now. We got here about 10 minutes ago. So we're just waiting for everybody to show up. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You want to say hi? Yay! I don't know why you always act so awkward. He's not like this in real life. But you meet him, if you meet him, you'll understand.
If you meet me. If you meet me.
But basically what that does is it takes the cost from, you've got, let's call it 65 cents for your mill piece, if you're sending them in small batches, 8 cents to do your
120,000.
So if that's the case, what I would tell you is, again, that's where you want to have multiple input sources and then dive into your comps and find out why.
Okay.
Right? So you might find out that on one of the systems it's pulling from, instead of a half-mile radius, maybe it's pulling a mile radius. Right? So make sure they're both dialed in the same way. And then not only that, but check the individual comps, because one of them might actually be pulling something that sold just recently that the other one doesn't have, and it could be a turnkey comp, right? So we talked about that, I think it was last time or the time before. Your turnkey comps are going to be very different than the comps that you need to run by whenever you do your numbers. Bless you. So that's what I would say. Usually if there's a massive difference, it's either an outlying area, like we had the one on Snowden, and there's comps out there for $200,000-$300,000, but then there's also comps out there for $20,000 and $30,000, right? So if you have those, you just got to dive really deep and find out, all right, is there a highway? Maybe some of the expensive houses are on the west side, and I'm on the east side, so you have to just make sure that as you're pulling your comps, you're getting as accurate of data as possible. And there's that might have been difficult to deal with and you didn't know what to say to them.
I actually did have a question. Did you have any suggestions for any attorneys who can deal well with tax properties that were purchased previously? Because what's happened is the current owner, she got the property from her son, and it was originally gotten from the environmental court, where he had some sort of like payments or liens or whatnot on that particular property. And it's been to 2 title companies now, and it's saying that the underwriter is not able to insure the title on the property. And so I asked specifically, like, what else would the seller need to do, and they just haven't given me anything that the seller could do.
Yeah.
And they were just like, we don't want to work with it, basically.
Good question. So it depends on who. So first I would find out who the underwriter is. So is it Fidelity? Is it Chicago, Republic? Who is the underwriter? And then I would call up several different title companies. I've got several recommendations for you if you want them. But I would call them and say, look, here's my situation, and can anything be done? I went through this title company. They basically don't want to mess with it. Here's the underwriter that was on that case, and they said this. There's always going to be somebody that's willing to touch a case like that, where some attorneys might not be.
Okay.
So I would say maybe somebody that's really familiar with quiet title, because that's kind of what it sounds like you're going to have to do is file quiet title.
Yeah.
Just know this, quiet title is going to run you $3,000 or $4,000, So you need to factor that into your cost.
Okay, it's not worth it.
Yeah, so a lot of times quiet title will actually kill a deal.
Okay.
Because from the attorney's perspective, they've actually got to go to court. It's not as simple as, hey, let's draft up some docs, let's sign it, we're good. They've actually physically got to appear in front of the judge. They've got to, do the petition for you. They've got to do all the paperwork, so it's expensive.
Okay.
Some attorneys will do it cheaper for you, but I can give you some recommendations whenever we end out. If you want me to give you some recommendations, we can. Just understand that $3,000 or $4,000 needs to be factored into the deal, because it's either going to come out of your pocket or out of the seller's pocket, or maybe you can split it half and half or something like that.
Okay.
Yep. But that's a very good question, because we've actually got a couple right now that were owner's information, cell phone number, landline, email address. That's what skip tracing is. What we're doing here is she is inputting raw addresses, and then we need to find the owner's information before we can skip trace. Because if you just send addresses to the skip trace provider, they're going to say, I don't know who to search for, right? They can't just search by address. They need the name of the owner and the owner's address in order to search that property. Does that make sense? So once you go out driving for dollars and you get the address you need, then you're going to put that address on your sheet. Normally what you have to do is you got to go to Shelby County and start pulling the owner's name, first name, last name, mailing address, city, state, and zip, and put that on your sheet. And then you want to do city, state, and zip as well for your subject property. Then you send that data over to your skip trace provider, whether it be back skip tracing or whoever. They are going to then attach the phone numbers and the emails and all that kind of stuff to your list. And then from there, you can upload it to your Mojo dialer or whoever, and start cold calling. You can start sending them direct mail. You can ringless voicemail them. You can send them text messages, right? So you want to use whatever means at your disposal to actually get into contact with those folks after you skip trace them. And I would recommend doing all of them. Some people respond better to text messages. Some people respond better to emails. Some people respond better to calls. So it's just all about doing as much as you can. So like every list that we pull, we're going to skip trace them. After we skip trace them, we're going to cold call them, ringless voicemail drop them, and text them. Address separated out in columns. So XYZ or 123 XYZ Street, Memphis, Tennessee 38125, all in separate columns. And then you want your subject property, address, then subject property, city, state, and zip, and all those in separate columns. And that's how most skip tracers want their data. You send it to them, and then from there they're able to get you. But if you send them this, they're going to laugh at you and say, sorry, man, I can't do anything with that. So let's see. I might have to pull a different list. Done to your standards, they will drop the ball, I promise you, and then you'll just say, man, I should have done it myself, right? All right, so let's see if this works this time.
How do you get your people for in-house and do you recommend it?
Man, if you guys have some recommendations for me, I'd love to hear it. We're still, again, we're still vetting out that process as well.
I just posted that on Indeed, see how that works.
Yeah, Indeed, Monster, Craigslist, Facebook, all the stuff that anybody else does. I wish I had some magic formula for you on that, but I don't. It's just tough. That's all I can tell you. You got to go through folks and just keep trying it out and see what works.
I'm for hire.
Yeah. How would you answer that?
I said I'm independent.
Okay, perfect. You can tell them, look, I'm actually not calling for a company. I'm personally buying houses.
Okay.
Yeah. So one thing that we're going to do, and we were talking about this today, we're going to actually create a like a rebuttal script for everybody, and that way you guys can kind of have that in front of you. What I would just say is just answer people as honestly and ethically as you can, but just make sure that you just frame what you're saying properly, right? So give me some objections.
How did you get my number?
Good question. We actually use public data. So we bought a house not too far from you guys, and we just use a public data resource that tells us who the neighbors are, and it gives us some phone numbers, and hopefully we get the right number. We'll give you a call and see if you guys are interested in selling. That's simple. You don't have to complicate it. Just keep it super duper simple. What else you got? Give me some objections. Yeah. Tell me I got your number from Google.
Okay, let me see.
Anybody, spit some objections out that you're getting on the phone or that you think you might be getting on the phone. Man, we're not doing enough cold calling.
I'm trying to think.
How can I trust you?
How can you
How
trust
I know
me?
you're legit?
Good question. So for somebody like myself, I have a company and we have a brand that you can go on Facebook, you can go on our website, we have testimonials, that sort of thing. So that's what I'm going to tell the client. But what if you don't have a website? What if you don't have your Facebook stuff established yet? What if you don't have any of that? Then that's when you're just going to have to tell the person, we use attorneys to do all of our transactions, so you don't even have to trust me. And I know you probably don't trust attorneys, but the reason why we use these guys is because they're a third party. They just hold the money, and they're supposed to do right by you and me. These are well-known companies within Memphis. You can Google them and look them up. It's not even about me because we do everything through them. We're not doing quick claim deeds and all that, right? So you're doing a judo move. You're not even answering their question, right? You're not trying to go down the road of how can you trust me, because you might not have a bunch of credibility built up yet. You might not have bought any houses yet, right? So take that credibility and shift it over to somebody else and say, look, I'm not the one that is going to be holding the money, so the attorney is going to be the one doing that. Let me get you in contact with them. Matter of fact, you can look them up right now. They got great reviews. They've been around since blah, 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 blah. So that's where it's good to just know your vendors that you're using. And so you can kind of sidestep that question completely if you don't have a bunch of experience. Or you can just say, hey, you know what? I'm not personally the one buying the house. I work with an investment firm here in Memphis. They're a pretty good sized firm. They buy a bunch of houses. Let me give you their Facebook information, or let me give you their website. You can send them to our website. I don't care. Use us. So most of the time when people give you an objection like that, you can sidestep it pretty easily by giving them a very direct answer, or if you feel like you don't have the credibility yourself, borrow the credibility from somebody else. Or a soccer team or a baseball team or whatever. How many of those people don't have coaches? Not one, right? Zero. Why? Are these guys skilled on their own?
They're skilled.
But they have to have somebody to guide them in the process, right? So it's the same thing. The first thing I would tell anybody, I did this with my first 25 deals, and I'm so happy I did it. In my financial practice, man, I have a mentor and a coach there. So get with somebody that can kind of walk you through that process. But just as to answer your question, you want to have a good title company or two set up in place. Now, any one of these I tell you, you don't just want one, you want multiples. Title companies, you want multiples because they may get backed up with other business and prolong your closings because they're just so inundated with what they've got going on, right? Plus, business for everybody ebbs and flows, so you want multiple folks. You want contractors that can help you bid out your houses if you're personally buying houses. You want somebody that can help you run comps. If you're running your comps on your own, perfect. If you don't know how to do that, educate yourself on how to run comps or team up with somebody that knows how to do that for you. And the other side of that is make sure any of these people I'm telling you you want on your team, do not go to them and just start pulling on them. Hey, give me. Don't do that. Don't do it to your contractors. Don't do it to your realtors. Don't do it to your mentors. Don't do it to anybody. You don't want anybody coming to you and saying, hey, give me all this information and not have it as a symbiotic relationship, right? Mm-hmm. So, and my realtor's going to attest to this. Anybody that's a realtor in the room, you guys know. I mean, you don't want, how many of you guys want people calling you all the time saying, hey, can you run some comps for me? For free?
We start blocking them.
Right. How do y'all want to run comps all day for free?
No.
Not at all. Not at all. So, again, any of these vendors I'm telling you that you want to, so like my closing attorney, the only reason he answers all of my phone calls, like I call him on a cell phone, he'll answer right now. The only reason that's possible is because I've sent him 60 closings to do, right? So you've got to make sure you're sending other people business first before you can expect to take from them, right? So your contractors, before you say, hey, come bid some free jobs for me, why don't you give them some business first? Right? Say, hey man, you know, I've got something over here. It's not real heavy work, but I've got a broken window at one of these properties. Can you come fix it for me and I'll pay you for it? And you keep doing that kind of stuff with anybody. So you want good contractors, you want a good realtor on your team, of course your coach or your mentor, a good title company. I would say get a good credit repair specialist because your clients are going to need that eventually. A good moving company, you're going to want a good moving company. What else are your clients going to need? You're going to need a good yard person. So check this out. How many of you have actually paid for your client's yard to get mowed on one of their properties?
Not yet.
You're going to put it at your title company, not their title company, but at your title company, okay? If you are receiving earnest money on a property that you're selling, it needs to go to your title company, not their title company. The amount can vary on every transaction. Typically for us, if the wholesale assignment fee is more than $6,000, we want $2,500 earnest money, non-refundable, when we do our disposition side, okay? That protects us from shady buyers and that sort of thing. On your acquisition side, I mean, you can put as little as $1 up for earnest money. Now again, you're gonna have to explain to your client why you're only putting $1 for earnest money, and you're gonna look really cheap and not professional. So we put like between $100 to $500 on every property, and sometimes up to $3,000, just because we want our clients to feel comfortable with what we're doing, right? So earnest deposit price is negotiable. You guys can work that out. Contract is not valid in Tennessee without consideration. Right or wrong?
Right.
Right or wrong?
Right, and
Okay.
consideration is an exchange of money.
So we've had this argument with a few people. You have to put earnest money on your assignment contract, or I'm sorry, on your purchase agreement with this person. Do not put TBD, to be determined, on your earnest money. That is dumb. Because guess what's going to happen? I'm going to go behind you, and I'm going to put earnest money on that contract, because if you don't have a valid contract and you're screwing with this person's life and you don't have any money, and I'm going to close on that deal. Because I'm going to do what's right by the client. And you're just trying to get a contract. See the difference? And if somebody, like if a legitimate attorney sees to be determined on the contract, he should tell you, hey man, your contract isn't worth anything. So think about it from the buyer's perspective. Don't do this $0 earnest money crap and stuff like that. It's just not right. If you're going to contract a house, make sure you're ready to pull the trigger on buying that house, or you have hard money, or you have buyers lined up already, or you have cash partners or whatever, right? Make sure you have that lined up, because we talk about this all the time. This is how to do it the professional way, and not the fly-by-night, get rich quick, mo money stuff that most people teach in this town.
And you can also learn about reverse wholesaling. So if you can't actually buy a house yourself, build a good relationship with your buyer so you know they won't steal the deal behind you. Show them the details of the house. I'm talking maybe 3 people at the most.
Yeah.
And then depending on their offers, then you can get a good offer with the seller, and then you guaranteed can assign the contract.
Yeah. So what she's saying is, just for clarification purposes, it's called reverse wholesaling. Some people really don't like that model, and some people are okay with it. I'm impartial, right? So if you have a good relationship with a buyer, do not do this with your entire buyer's list.
Yeah.
All right? That is very dumb, and it will get you burned very quickly. Only send it to people that you have vetted personally, that you have done business with, or that have come very highly recommended, right? So, everybody knows, if they send me something, I'm not stealing it from them. I'm either going to buy it from them, or I'm going to tell them, hey, listen, it's not going to fit what I need, but I'll partner with you on it, right? The goal is to have a few people that you can trust, that you can send these properties to and say, hey, listen, I don't have this under contract, and be upfront with it, right?
Yep.
I don't have this under contract yet. Where would you need to have this in order for us to make this deal work? They're going to tell you their price, and then you'll be able to go back to them, to your seller, and say, hey, listen, I need it at, and put it $5,000 lower, or whatever you want. It's not the optimal way to do business, but you can do that if you need to start out.
Let me just add.
And we are leaving. It was very enlightening. This is Jason. It was very enlightening. Getting to be in a room with a bunch of like-minded people. Once again, haven't been doing this in a minute. This is a little corner right here. But yeah, let me see.
No, I'm not supposed to do this, but I gotta touch it.
By the time this is uploaded, I'll probably be sending Deniz, I always call him Deniz, some property scouts. And so that's what happens when you network and when you go out to meetings. You can just get in where you fit in. I'll be sending him some referrals for people who are in Memphis who could be driving for dollars and be property scouts for him. So, I mean, it all depends on where you are and what message you have to deliver for people. So, yeah.